She got in because she saw him first. Not the owner of the limousine. Her ex, Daniel, who had spotted her across the hotel lobby of the Grand Josun at exactly the wrong moment, which was the moment she had been standing still long enough to be spotted. She had been still because she was checking her phone for the address of the gallery opening she was already 20 minutes late for, and stillness at a hotel lobby at 7 on a Friday evening was apparently all it took for the universe to arrange a collision she had spent 8 months successfully avoiding. She saw him register her. She saw the pause, the redirect of his body, the particular momentum of a man who had decided to cross a room. She had 4 seconds, maybe 5, and the door of a black limousine was open at the curb directly to her right, with the driver standing at the front, speaking into his phone with his back turned. And she made the calculation in the way she made all calculations under pressure, quickly, without deliberation, trusting the outcome to sort itself. She got in. She pulled the door. She sat back against the leather and breathed. The door opened from the other side. She turned. He was already looking at her. Not with surprise, with the expression of someone who had processed the surprise in the half-second before she noticed him, and it arrived at something more considered by the time their eyes met. He was in a dark suit, jacket on, no tie, and he had the quality that certain people had of making whatever room they occupied smaller simply by being in it, not through aggression or performance, but through the specific density of someone who was entirely present in a way most people were not. She had never seen him before. She would have remembered. "I'm so sorry," she said immediately. I made a mistake. I'll get out. "There's a man at the lobby entrance," he said, "who has been watching this car for the last 30 seconds. She stilled. "Tall," he said. "Gray jacket." "He stopped when you got in." She did not turn to look. She did not need to. She knew the gray jacket. Daniel owned 3 in different shades and wore them as his default setting for evening events, which she knew because she had spent 2 years learning the texture of his defaults before she had understood that the texture was all there was, that there was no different person underneath the jacket waiting to be discovered. "My ex," she said. He nodded once, the way he had nodded when he registered her in the first place. Processing. Filing. Moving forward. "Where do you need to go?" he said. "Itaewon. There's a gallery on the main road, the Cone Gallery. I know it." He said something to the driver through the partition, brief, and the limousine moved. She watched the lobby doors slide past the window and kept watching until the turn took them around the corner and the Grand Josun disappeared behind them. She exhaled. "Thank you," she said. "I'll get a cab from we pass it," he said. The same words, the same quality of simple, practical decision-making. He looked at his phone for a moment, then set it face down on the seat beside him. She looked at her hands, then at the interior of the car, which was the kind of interior that communicated its own information, not ostentatious, but precise. Everything chosen with the specific attention of someone who understood quality as accuracy rather than display. She looked at him. "Shin Ha-un," she said. "UJ1, he said. It arrived 30 seconds later, the name clicking into place against everything she had filed about it. UJ1. 42 years old. U Holdings, which was the kind of company that showed up in 3 sectors at once and whose name she encountered in her work regularly because her work was in urban cultural policy, and U Holdings had its hands in half the significant development projects in the city that had cultural heritage. Implications. She had written a position paper 18 months ago about the Naksan development that referenced a U Holdings subsidiary 3 times, none of the references flattering. She looked at him with the specific expression of someone recalibrating. "You know who I am," he said. I know your company, she said. Naksan. Something moved in his face. Not defensiveness, consideration, the expression of someone receiving a word they have heard before and are deciding how to hold it this time. You have a position on Naksan, he said. I have a published position on Naksan, she said. It's not obscure. Urban cultural policy, he said. He was looking at her steadily. Yancey, you were the lead author on the Heritage Corridor framework that the city adopted in 2021. She paused. You've read the framework. I've read everything that affects my projects, he said. Your framework affected 4 of them. It was supposed to affect more, she said, and heard the edge in her own voice, the professional edge she did not bother filing down when the subject was the one she had spent 6 years caring about. The Mapo corridor section was watered down before adoption. The original language would have protected 8 additional sites. I know, he said. My team lobbied against the original language. The limousine moved through the Friday evening traffic, the city amber and dense outside the windows. She looked at him. You're telling me that, she said. Because it's true, he said, and because I've had cause to reconsider it since. He said it with the quality she was noticing, not the performing of accountability, not the public apology performed for an audience, but the flat, honest statement of someone who had reached a conclusion and was saying it without decoration. What changed your position? She said. A building came down, he said. The one on the Mapo site. The one the original language would have protected. He looked at the window briefly. I had read the framework. I had understood its argument. I lobbied against it anyway because the timeline and cost implications were significant, and I prioritized them. He looked back at her. The building had been standing for 130 years. We lost it in a weekend. I have not been able to justify the arithmetic since. She held this. She held it the way she held significant things, without rushing to respond, letting the weight of it settle into its true shape. She had written about that building. She had included it in an appendix to the framework as an example of the category of structure most at risk, the vernacular urban heritage that fell beneath the threshold of formal protection and was therefore entirely dependent on policy language that nobody lobbied for, because nobody profited from it. You read the appendix, she said. I read the appendix, he said. Twice, she looked at him in the back of the limousine on a Friday evening she had not planned. That had been scheduled to be a gallery opening and had become something else through the specific mechanics of an ex-boyfriend in a gray jacket and a door open at the wrong moment. And she thought, the wrong door again, always the wrong door. And always something on the other side that the right door would not have opened into. The Seongsu project, she said, the one currently in permitting. He looked at her directly. What about it? The cultural impact assessment is inadequate, she said. The site has 3 documented structures from the early industrial period, and the assessment treats them as Category 3 when they should be Category 1 under any reasonable application of the criteria. Whoever wrote the assessment either didn't read the criteria or decided not to. I'll have my team pull the assessment tonight, he said. Your team wrote it. A pause. 1 beat, then I'll have someone outside my team review it, he said. Who would you recommend? She told him. He wrote the name in his phone. She watched him write it and thought about the Naxon building and the appendix read twice, and the arithmetic he had not been able to justify, and she thought about the position paper she had written 18 months ago with his company's subsidiary, named 3 times in unflattering terms, and she thought, this is the most useful conversation I have had about this work in 6 months. The Kyung Gallery appeared on the right. The driver slowed without being asked. She reached for her bag, then stopped. The framework review, she said. The city is conducting a 5-year assessment starting next quarter. I'm leading the working group. I know, he said. We submitted a stakeholder response last month. I know, she said. I read it. She looked at him. It was better than your previous submissions. Something moved in his face, the adjacent to smile thing she had first seen in the lobby of the Grand Joseon and was now seeing for the second time. I had better source material, he said. She opened the door. The evening air came in, cool, carrying the particular Friday smell of the city beginning its weekend. She stood on the pavement and bent to look at him through the open door. The working group meets on the second Wednesday of each month, she said. Stakeholder presentations are accepted through the coordinating office. You should submit one. I will, he said. She straightened. She looked at the gallery and then back at the limousine. UJ1, she said. Shin Ha-un, he said. The way she had said it, acknowledging something, marking it. She closed the door. She went into the gallery. The show was about the disappearance of industrial architecture in 3 Korean cities, which felt pointed given what had just happened in the back of a limousine, and she stood in front of a photograph of a factory building in Incheon, taken the week before its demolition, and thought about the 130-year building on the Mapo site, and about the arithmetic that couldn't be justified, and about the framework language that should have protected 8 more sites, and had protected none of them. She thought about the stakeholder response that was better than the previous ones. Her friend Ji-yeon arrived late and slightly breathless, and accepted a glass of wine and said, "You look like you've already had an entire evening." "I have," Ha-yoon said. "Daniel?" Briefly, then something else. Ji-yeon looked at her with the attention of someone who had known her for 11 years. "Something else," she said. Not a question. "A conversation about urban heritage policy," Ha-in said. "In a gallery. In a limousine." Joyeon stared at her for a moment. Then she said, "I need you to start from the beginning." She presented to the working group on the second Wednesday of the following month. Not as a stakeholder, she was leading the group. She was not a stakeholder, but she arrived to the room to find UJ1 seated in the second row with a prepared presentation and the specific posture of someone who had done the work and knew it and was waiting to be asked. She called on him in the second half of the session, and he presented for 12 minutes with the precision and specificity of someone who had read all of the documents and had things to say about them that were worth hearing. When he cited her appendix by page number, she kept her face neutral. She noted that 3 other members of the working group were writing things down. After the session, he waited while she spoke with the other attendees, patient with the patience of someone who understood that waiting was sometimes just what accurate things required. When the room had cleared, he came to where she was gathering her materials, and he said, "The Seongsu assessment. My external reviewer came back this morning. And Category 1, he said. All 3 structures. We're revising the development plan." She set down her folder. She looked at him. "That's a significant cost implication." "Yes," he said. "You're bored." "My company," he said. Simply, the way he said accurate things. She held his gaze for a moment. She thought about the arithmetic that couldn't be justified, and the source material, and the 8 structures the framework should have protected. She thought about the limousine and the gray jacket, and Daniel at the lobby entrance watching the car. And she thought about all the wrong doors she had walked through in her life that had opened into rooms she was supposed to be in. "There's a site in Uljiro," she said. "Early 20th century commercial building. It's not in the current assessment cycle, but it should be. I've been trying to find someone to fund a heritage study for 18 months. "Send me the details," he said. She sent them that evening. He responded at 11 with a message that was 3 sentences long and contained no preamble and no performance of interest, and said simply that he had looked at the site location, the preliminary documentation she had attached, and the estimated study cost, and that his foundation would fund the full study, and that she should contact his foundation director to arrange the terms. She read it twice. She thought, the response is what the response is. It is accurate. File it where accurate things go. She contacted the foundation director. The study was arranged. She went to the Uljero site on a Saturday morning in March with a heritage, architect and 2 graduate students she had recruited, and she stood on the pavement in front of a building that had been standing for 112 years and looked at it with the full quality of her attention and felt the thing she always felt in front of structures like this, the specific grief of knowing how easily it could disappear, and the specific determination of someone who had spent 6 years trying to make the disappearing harder. He arrived at 11. She had not expected him. He stood beside her on the pavement and looked at the building and said nothing for a full minute, which was the right amount of time to look at something properly. "The upper floor windows," he said finally. "Original glass," she said. "That's a Category 1 indicator on its own." "I know," he said. "I read the criteria." She looked at him. "You read the criteria. You wrote them," he said. "I read everything you write." She turned back to the building. She pressed her lips together briefly to contain something she was not immediately sure what. The size of it, maybe. The specific largeness of being seen accurately. The way the Uljero building was being seen this morning. The way all things deserve to be seen before they disappeared. "The framework review report," she said. "The preliminary draft is due in 6 weeks." "I know. I'll need stakeholder input on the revised category criteria before I finalize the language." "Tell me when," he said. She told him Wednesday. He was there Wednesday with his marked-up copy of the preliminary criteria and 17 specific, well-reasoned responses, and the quality of attention that she had identified in the limousine on the first night, and had been confirming in every subsequent encounter as simply the way he was, fully present, fully engaged, not performing either. They finished at 9. The building was quiet, and the city was doing its Wednesday evening business outside, and she was gathering her things in the way of someone at the end of a long, useful day, and he was still at the table, looking at a page, with the focused expression of someone who had one more thing. He said. She looked at him. He looked up from the page. He held her gaze with the steadiness she had come to know as simply his register, not managed, not careful, just present. "I have an accurate read on most things," he said. "I want to be accurate about this. I would like to have dinner with you, not as a working group matter, as myself asking you." She considered him across the table in the quiet building. She thought about the Granjosun lobby and the gray jacket and the 4 seconds she had used to get into a limousine to avoid a conversation she did not want to have, and the conversation she had found instead. She thought about the 130-year building, the arithmetic that could not be justified. The appendix read twice. She thought, the wrong door, every time the wrong door, and every time the room she was supposed to find on the other side of it. "Thursday," she said. "I'm free at 7. He nodded once. He did not smile yet. She had come to understand that his smile was reserved for the moments that genuinely earned it. That it was not deployed as social currency, and she valued it for that reason, precisely. But something in his expression settled into something that was warmer than his baseline, which was itself a statement. She picked up her bag. She put on her coat. "The Uljero building," she said at the door. I'll make sure it's in the next cycle, he said. She nodded. She went out into the Wednesday evening, into the city that contained buildings which deserved to stand, and people who sometimes, when the right-wrong door opened, turned out to deserve the same. She was already thinking about Thursday.